keyboard because I gave up the desktop.
Hey, don't talk to him. There's off limits.
We're starting off with the oldest North American Championship from 1972. This man won at Rope Point, and his name is Doc Stern.
Doc told me one time, don't let it go to your head when you win like that. Because he went on vacation in the Caribbean someplace, and he was going to impress Rhoda. And he rented a Hobie 14, and the guy said, do you know how to handle that boat? Doc says, well, I'm a new North American champion. Of course, he immediately upset it and had to be towed in. All right, now we go to the next three-time North American champion by the name of Paul Fuller, otherwise known as Calvin. Calvin won in 1973, 74, and 75. All these were at Rope Point, I understand, and we'll get back to Calvin later on. Calvin is the father of the A class in this area. He built 31 boats. Next, the North American champion of 1991, Michael Gruber. Again, Michael won at Rope Point, and he beat Rob Beadling, who won it 7 times. Not by much, but he beat him. But Michael also had an ally on the race course. There was a power boat that went between him and the second place boat at least 5 times. Now we got another 3-time North American champ of 1996, 1998, and 2000. And this is Ben Hall. If you look at the dates, he gave somebody a chance in between winning it all the time. At this point, he's also the holder of the current Grand Master trophy. We'll hear more about all these guys. And there's 2 guys that we want to mention too. I don't know if that counts. Ian Lindahl, he's the son of a North American champion, but he's here from Michigan. And to make this an international event, we got to welcome Fred and Jacqueline from Canada. All right, now we'll get right to it. What we are basically going to do, we are looking at the North American champions that are on the DeMoro trophy that is given out with the North American Championship. Tony DeMoro sponsored this trophy. We all know him from the Little America's Cup, sailing seaboats. Who's doing the pictures? We should have went to picture 2. Hey, I forgot to this. This is my granddaughter Riley. That's a bunch of years ago, and in the meantime she had parents and also a little sister, Paige. 3rd picture. That is Tony DeMoro's C-Class. That's what he's known for. When the catamarans came into the scene, of course they were A-Class, which are our boats, and they were B-Class, which were like tornadoes and sharks, and the C-Class, which is one of them there. And they also had a D-Class. That was a monster boat. You know, years back, John Keck owned one of these on the lake. I don't have a picture of that.
Don't want a picture of it.
No.
Cameras then. All right, picture 5.
Just look at me, you know.
Hey, I know who that
All right, picture 5. That's in 1965-66. It started with the A-line by the Hubbard brothers. The other day when we were up in Rhode Island, Dave Hubbard was training with Steve Clark to defend the C Cup, so he's still very active. That boat had a 28-foot mast and it weighed about 300 pounds all up. In the same time, Bob Lostrom and Dick Karcher started building the Loka, which started as a 16-foot long boat with a 25-foot mast. It has glass hulls and wooden decks. The decks were flat on top. Now we're going to 1967. That's the first date on the DeMuro Trophy. Picture 6.
Is that it?
This is supposedly Dennis Posey and a Mark II version of the Loka. It was 18-foot glass hulls, starting out with a 26-foot mast and going to a 30-foot mast. Some people went up to a 33-foot mast, but it came back down and wound up where it still is today at about 30. The weight was 225 pounds to 275 pounds, all up. And in those days, they believed if a boat was heavy, that was good to keep you going. In 1968, Dennis Posey won again. Dennis Posey was a man that paid attention to detail, like he checked the course, the tides, and we don't know much about him, but he was from Connecticut.
We know somebody else from Connecticut.
Those days, there were always races on Lake Opatcon every weekend. The races were up in the slot where Calvin lived, and they used to go out to into the slot, but they never entered the main leg. The starting line was a column on shore and a mark in the water. And the trophies that were given out were coffee mugs with magic marker writing on it. I still have one of them, and that's one of my favorite trophies. And then we went to 1969, and Bob Hawk Artie, who still lives on Lake Opatcon, right? Yes. He won it. Yeah, it also took place on Lake Opatcon, I understand. And the races on Lake Opatcon, they progressed and they went as far to get an automatic starting clock. There was a clock, about a 3-foot circle, where the clock would run around. It had 5 lights on top. And they all lit up and the lights would go off, and when the last light went off, you had to stop. That thing didn't last very long because one of the fishermen must have hooked, or we must have hooked one of his lines, and he sunk the damn thing. Are you on to picture 10, or what picture have you shown me?
You guys really
Those were the A-clats in the early days. Now Danny probably knows who's who here.
Is that Lee Spark or? Well, number 9 was Eddie Canoe's boat. Right, Calvin?
Which one?
No,
Where is this? In front of the Jefferson House?
The Jefferson House.
All right. Get up to picture 10.
Yeah.
That's a Jefferson House.
Yeah, that's a Jeff House. Those were all locusts, you can see that.
Hey, look at
no,
that.
the first one there, that's a catnip.
That's
That's
110.
Yeah. Whose is that?
That's Kinder.
That's a little old after he came out.
Randy as well.
That's a loca there. If you look at the travel system, do you see where the crossbar is? That's in front of the Traveler. The Traveler ran on the cable between the hulls. That means you didn't have to pass the tiller around.
Calvin, that's you, isn't it? Wouldn't be. Yep.
And I don't know if you can see it there, but they had double stays instead of having diamonds. Go back, can you go back to the little picture?
You're pushing it, yeah.
Well, you can't really see, but there were no diamond stays on the mast. So you adjusted things by tension on the lower stays. You could bend that mast any way you wanted to, basically. All right. Picture 11.
Is that it?
That's a unicorn, yeah. That was in 1907. Jim Barney won it with a unicorn. Where, we don't know, but he was from Massachusetts and he was a DN sailor and he also sailed sea class in England for the Little America's Cup. The Spray Beach Group imported 6 or 7 unicorns from Towbridge and Sons in England. These boats lasted 7 to 10 years in Barnegat Bay. But those boats were very nice, but they were very flat and they were awful hard to attack.
You know, they're still raced as a class today in the UK.
They haven't changed them, huh?
Nope.
Okay.
With double stays.
Bob Kruger and Walter Beadling developed cats based on that, on a unicorn. We called them Krugermoran. Rudders and boards were rigged aft so that the eelgrass wouldn't catch on them, which was and still is a problem in Barnegat Bays. His decks were made out of masonite, and he turned it upside down so they have a non-slip surface immediately. And most of the boats were built out of door skins, so you can imagine, once the epoxy got away from it, that was the end of the boat. Those two guys, Bob Kruger and Walter Beadling, they also had a bright idea to make a cruising boat. Those are all unicorns, yeah. And there you can see how they had an elaborate traveler system to adjust the lower stays while you were away, so you could control your mast bend. Same like you do, I guess, with adjustable diamonds nowadays. All right, back to Bob Kruger and
Next picture.
I don't know, Walter Beadling. Yeah, they built a cruising A. They took the dimensions of an A and doubled everything. And they actually managed to, we don't have a picture of that. They managed to sail it and sell it. All right, in 1971, Paul Hanker won with the Australias. Is that picture 15?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Paul Hanker was from Michigan and he was trying to manufacture the Australias, but it was too heavy to be a success. Picture 16 and 17, that's a unicorn again. Yeah. In 1972, Doc Stern won it in his local on Roden Point. Cal won most of the races on the lake that year, but when it counted at the North Americans, Doc beat him. And here's another story about Doc. You know, this thing was written a couple years ago, and then Doc was 84. How old is he now?
86.
86, so 2 years ago. And in 84, we almost lost Doc. He went out sailing his DN on a windy day by himself, which we all know is a no-no. And he found open water in a slot and went in, of course, and he couldn't get out of the water. And he basically gave up and he laid on the boat waiting for that they would find his body. That was his talk, his saying. But somebody had seen him and called the cops, and they got him to the hospital, and in 2 weeks, I guess he was okay. Right now? Then in 1973, 74, and 75, Cal Fuller, who developed the catnip, won it with that boat. That seemed to be faster than the Locust. And picture 18. Yeah, there is Calvin's boats. As you see, they modified as they went. You notice the boat on the left is straight, and the other one steps down behind the front bridge. And look at the bottom right, that is one of Cal's designs, and that boat sailed in. Because he had solid bulkheads in it. You know, if they would have listened to Calvin, the Titanic wouldn't have sunk either. Yeah, that's Frank Miller's boat down at Spray Beach, yeah.
Spontaneous boat, yeah.
See, the only thing you had to do, you could not open the porthole, because when you did that, the damn thing went down like a rock. Picture 19. There's Calvin in all his glory, going around the upward mark, and it was a Spray Beach, I guess. Do you think he pulled that out?
I don't know.
No, he didn't. I took that picture and I was on a committee boat watching it, and I was so shocked when I saw it go over. I should have taken more pictures, but I didn't.
Here, Cal wants to say something.
No,
Go ahead, say it.
no, the fact that I pitched ball the boat, but you didn't take the picture of the pitch ball. Came around the other side, got aboard the boat, and in those days I used to smoke. Reached to the top of my hat before I kept my cigarette, lit a cigarette, and then started sailing again.
Just like you, man. Tender.
Your Speedy is following in your footsteps.
It's speedy though.
It's speedy, man.
Thank God for those Ziploc bags.
Now we're up to 1976. Minot Bangle, that's one of Calvin's boats up in Maine, yeah. Minot Bangle won it in the Unicorn. We'll hear about him again in 1990 when he won it again. And in 1977, Johnny Lindahl from Michigan won it at Trixie's Landing down at the Jersey Shore. And it was in a boat that he had built, and we called it the boat with chipmunk cheeks. A beautiful boat, but it was in the rear, it was like that. Somehow the dimensions on the plywood when they laid it out had gotten screwed up in the communications between him and Cal. But the boat was very successful. And at that race, I don't know if anybody knows Dick Blanchard, that's the guy that did the Portsmouth numbers. He was officiating at a race down at Trixie's, and I don't know, what's his name again down there?
Bob Burston.
Bob Burston, yeah. He supplied the committee boat, and it was a patio boat, but the one hull was leaking, so he had a pump in the one hull and hooked it to a battery, and I guess the clips came off.
No, the
So-
battery went dead.
Huh?
The battery went dead.
Well, the battery went dead. Well, it sunk while they were starting a race, and Dick Blanchard, he would always officiate at the races in his dress whites. But he managed, when the boat rolled over and it went upside down, he managed to walk around as it did, never got wet, and finish the race at the start. All right. Where were we? What picture is that, Peter?
I don't know.
Yeah, that is Nitro Express. That's a boat built by John Lindahl. That's one that had inboard rudders. You see, there's no rudders in the back. They came out the bottom. And the top boat is the first boat that John Lindahl built. Right, Alvin? That's a catnip kit. And the bottom boat is the upside-down boat, we used to call it. He built that for the Worlds in Canada. That had flat bottoms, and it was supposed to surf on a downwind. It was somewhat successful, but I think that was the only one built, and I think he was almost on the same tack as all the round boats now. That is his upside-down boat. Is that picture 22, I guess, all right? Then we go to 1970.
No, that's the
Yeah, that's the upside-down boat again.
And again.
No, go back.
Go back. That's Turkey Point.
That's Turkey Point. You see the colored sail? That's Denny's boat.
Oh, Danny.
Henry Bassett.
He's on my focus is hair.
Disco Fever.
That's where the Red Runners come from.
Yeah.
That'd be a little different.